I'm going to talk about button masala straight on the business and what I do. And then, so basic, simple, fundamental. Where do I get learning from? Laziness. When you're lazy, you don't want to work, don't want to spend too much time running around things, procuring things. Designers have to do all of that. And I've always been lazy. So what did I do? I try to figure out things which are easy to do, faster to do, simpler to do, and you come upon ideas which happen. And so one of those ideas is called button masala. So I asked my tailor to take a piece of fabric, put buttons at every 2 inch. And I asked him to make straps and put buttonholes at every 2 inch, like on the shirt placket you have. So if you see, I hung the fabric like this. Then if you change the way it is buttoned or unbuttoned, you can keep lifting it up, keep changing the pattern. Very simple. Yeah. So that was the first trial. You saw there was not many buttons put in that. So next step was to try it better. So this is 1 hour trial. And how much changes can you bring in? You see. So same garment can keep, it can keep changing. So a piece like that can make about 1 million garment if you take the permutation combination and convert into any other possibility. So from there, I did a show, which is what I was supposed to do. And that was the idea for. So I made a garment like this. And the fabric basically looks like this, just to explain you quickly. Yeah, nothing more. And so this can give you a garment for every possibility of your life, a piece like that. Very simple. You pregnant, not pregnant, change the size, everything. Yeah? Very quickly. Okay. So please have a look at the garment. I'm not going to explain. During this time, I was trying to explain people to try it out. These were the models. They refused. They said, what if I change here? One button goes here and there. What will I do? And then I realized there's something wrong with society or something wrong with the concept. It wasn't the concept, it was the society. So I did this beautifully, done, over. Presentation happened, people clapped. Companies came to me, wanted to buy, I refused. I said, okay, I don't want to sell to people who don't understand what I'm doing. Very simple. So I made a garment, a trouser, which takes about 2 minutes to make from a fresh piece of fabric. So while they were walking in, I started making and walked in with the trouser. This is just a piece to explain to you. This is done in 2 hours with the same 2 pieces with the shoot on. So I make a garment, change it, open it, make it again. So you can see how many, and each one of these can be then played around with. So, but the question that this was the change, this is my learning of the whole 2 years or 3 years of this project is, I realized that people don't want to try out design. There's a fear in people to try. So today we're not fighting the issue of good design, bad design, form and function and colors and texture. I think a bigger problem to our society, as designers as a society, is there are 2% people who design and the 98% people who keep consuming continuously without ever touching it, without even wanting to touch it. Who are you trying to please? People who don't know? Who are you trying to please like continuously through design? It's not possible. So the only way you can do it is by actually making them involved in it, very simply. So I started working with craftsmen to see what I can do. So your craftsman can take a piece of fabric like that, convert into, if there is a bag he's made, and if it doesn't sell, he can make it into a skirt and sell. So I tried the same piece of fabric which can become a cushion cover, all of that. So somewhere here I started trying rubber bands. Very simple rubber band. You can put it between 2 buttons. So I reduced the cost of straps. Removed strap, started working, next step. So played around, came the next subject, which was button masala improved. So I realized while playing, it's important to play so that if you take a button, put it inside the rubber band, and do this, it's stitched, it's attached. Now you can do the same with another one, and you can attach, and it's attached. So joinery is done, yeah? So from that, I started making very simple garments. Now the stitching of buttons gone, this is gone. And so I started making garments, which are simpler. Now the beauty of this is, the moment I remove the buttons and the rubber bands, I have my fabric back, I have my button back, and I have my rubber band back. What did I lose? Nothing. 0 production cost, only the time. So this is the cheapest production taken. Thank you. So you can make anything that you ever want. Anybody can do it. So this can be, so I've been teaching this for 4 years, 3 years now, and I mean, anybody can make about 3 to 4 garments in a day's time, beginning from scratch, and nobody needs to ever buy a garment if they learn this. There is no will to learn, that's the problem. So yeah, okay, I'm just showing you shapes, skirts, so, you can take a shawl, cover it up, make a jacket. So you never have to buy jackets. You can actually just make whatever shape you want. You want a pocket to be done, you can fold it up, down. You can make your own shoes. You can make cushion covers. You can make bags, Wild Wild West, that's what I call it. Jewelry. Then I started whatever waste we had. So I've never actually ever created a single waste in 6 years of my workshop. So this is all the work that you see with one person, not many. So just one person who works with me, and while I travel and party. So this is all from waste. So we can do carpets, cushions, any textile surfaces at 1/3 the cost that anybody is doing in the world at this point of time. I mean, just menswear, lots of complaints. So you can take a fabric attached to the buttons that are already there and can keep moving around. So you can see there are buttons. So you can actually make your garment every day. Before going, you can just take a piece of fabric. So the beauty of it is you don't have to have a created thing, but you can just, when you want, you have a form. So you don't need to have a fixed form. That's the whole idea. You can keep adding the layer with the winter growing, summer's coming, reduce. I started experimenting with now all this while when I'm saying button, please don't imagine buttons. It could be anything. You can do it with stones, and the rubber bands can be threads or anything else. So we started inserting everything. Yeah, headgears. Headgears, turbans that people have been making for years, takes so much time. It can be done at 1/3 the fabric, the same functional properties. These can be pockets. You can insert anything, keep anything. Toys, stringers. We've been able to put lights in them. One of the very beautiful looking thing. Furniture. So you just pick up something from the market, put it inside the fabric, you have the product. And to suit your size, and you can always change it, repair it. Sculptures. Plastic balls. If you want to kill your wife, drown her, don't make her wear this because she'll float. So we can make clothes which can float at very easy price. Metal. We can make shields that people have been trying to make for many years. We can make musical instruments. You can remove them any point of time. These are moving things for a movie. You can make all these Indian instruments. This is an incense stick metal. So all we're trying to say is that you can attach any form of metal or material to fabric without technology, machine, tool. Sitting at hand. So while I'm talking, my tailor would have made at least one garment for any one of you to fit your size. So there are no sizes. I've never made more than one size. In so many years, I've only made one size and it's fitted all. The world is trying to trouble around with getting the right size, but the right size is when everybody who want to make their own clothes can make their own clothes, and that's the right size. And otherwise, so metal, we made a boat. So the learning is all this while what we've done so far is that people are not trying to change. Nobody is experimenting. I've taught so many people. They go back home. Their teachers tell them, don't try this idea. This is Anuj Sharma's. And I tell them, no, please use my idea. I'm alive. I'm saying take it. Don't wait me to die 100 years later, say, there was button masala, now we're using it. I want them to use, but they refuse because design means inspiration from... Okay, so kids wear. We're doing kids wear. Yeah. We want to go into kids wear, and that's the work I've done. So basically, I'll stop here and say thank you for showing, and thank you to myself and to you too. Thank you.
People often label me with all sorts of names, painter, sculptor, animator, but I truly consider myself an artist. Today, I shall be sharing my recent work, which is called Hanuman Chalisa. It's a prayer recited by millions of Hindus all across the globe to overcome their fear and difficulties in life. Interestingly, in today's world, we all are gasping for energy and active participation. So my job was to re-narrate a story in a more stimulating manner, to design an experience that connects spirituality with a sense of physicality. And various offshoots from this fundamental were developed. We designed a lot of elements, but I shall be covering only a few of them. To start with, CDL designed an app, which was a reinvention of experiencing mythology in an interactive manner. The app allows the devotee to recite prayers, experience the Chalisa story, and send prayers to their well-wishers, and also share their version of story on an online platform. The next one is inspired by the traditional folk art of Rajasthan carver. They are also called god boxes. So a regular carver is around 6 inches in height with illustrated panels. I thought of using the same folk art but enlarging it into a life-size shrine. More on the lines of cabinet of curiosity with real physical belongings. So the installation invites a user to an enchanted discovery of mystical Ramasetu, the floating stone from the story, and also sacred fruits, Ram's ring, and various other real assets, including Hanuman jewelry. Now, in order to give life to Indian villains and superheroes from the mythology, I decided to create figurines. It was very interesting to conceptualize the characters the way Valmiki has described in the text. They have grotesque features, heavily loaded with jewelry, muted and animal hybrid forms. So I decided to recreate a scene from the epic where Hanuman is facing the entire Ravana's army. I shall now talk about two installations which are quite interconnected. The first one is called Divine Vibrations. The underlying concept of this artwork is that when you visit a temple, the first thing you do is you ring a bell, which creates positive vibrations. Now, in order to capture Hanuman's magnificence, valor, and glistening persona, I thought of creating a sculpture which was 25 feet height, and it was completely composed of 26,000 bells. So the interaction begins when the user touches the khadam, which is placed on a pillar. It triggers the sensors, and the 26,000 bells, they start vibrating and ringing, creating an aura of a divine place. Now, as you can see, we also decided to combine augmented reality. It is a human nature to expect miracle every time you go to a sacred place like a temple or a church. So how does one make the idea of something as intangible as blessing into a tangible form? Try to create a virtual environment using depth sensing technology. So basically, when the user approaches the screen, and a simple gesture like namaste triggers the rays to come out of the sculpture. So the user feels blessed. And finally, I would like to end this presentation with the main seed that started the growth of everything, a small teaser of the film.
It's not that I wanted to do this presentation differently by coming in a cycle, like any other film fair awards or something like that. Because this cycle means a lot to me. Because I do recycle art and I meet my clients going by cycle. So that's why I got my cycle here. And about me, my graduation, I did my graduation from Fine Arts College, Chennai. And I did my post-graduation from NID. And there I found that, there are a lot of waste materials lying around it. So I thought I should make something out of it. So I started making sculpture using those scrap materials. And the philosophy of my art is mukti. I know most of the Indians know the concept of mukti. Mukti is nothing but stopping the rebirth. So what I do is whatever material I use in my art, I'm stopping the rebirth of the thing. It'll never go through the recycling process. So that's why I call it mukti. And here I'm not going to talk about my work. I'm just going to talk about, as an artist, when I walk across the Bombay streets, there are a few things that which really irritates me, plastic bags, like carry bags. And this is because the consumerist culture. We should stop consuming things randomly. And one should be very responsible, doing a consumption. When affordability should not be the main key cause for the consumption of any materials. Because of this consumeristic culture, there is a lot of e-waste is getting generated around the city. Because once I went to the Sakinaka thing, I found that a lot of, motherboards, keyboards, and everything discarded randomly there. And it's because of reusing random shits. When you consume something, you should be really be aware that what we are consuming. For instance, if you consume alcohol, we are very aware of what we are consuming. We have a limit. But the same thing should apply for any kind of plastic material or everything. And there should be some kind of system needs to be put in place where people who consume less should be credited. There should be credentials should be given to the people who are using less energy, water, or whatever. The attitude should be changed. I consume because I have it. Because we have, once we run out of those things, you will be end up with nothing. And one more thing I want to say, here we all designers talk about form follows function and all this thing. So what is the point, designer talking to a designer? It should be spoken to the layman outside. Because I know form follows function, less is more, all this thing, and you guys also know about all this thing. For instance, I went to a shopping mall, I saw olden days, those oil cans and all, those are not simple straight and all this thing, form. But now if you see all the oil cans and all, it's all ergonomically designed, forms, all these things are changed differently. But does the layman realize that it's changed for him? Because you and me know, because I know when I see a product, it's changed. And I understand it is changed because I'm a designer. But does a layman knows that it's been changed? No. And in the shopping mall, they say plastic carry bags, small bags 3 rupees, big ones 5 rupees. And who puts the price tag on this? Does it really worth 3 rupees or 5 rupees? And does it really going to affect this thing? Reusing of plastic? Anyways, it's going to get thrown away and it's going to get clogged. So it's better you sell it at a higher price so that the consumer will stop buying it. Put a plastic bag for 50 rupees, 100 rupees. You'll be consuming responsibly. And one more thing I encountered during my show, one buyer came to me, you are using all the junk materials and everything in your art. Does it create a negative energy in my place? I said, what is negative energy? What is Vastu? He says, broken things gives negative energy. I said, as time passes, we age. So do you do you throw your grandparents, mother, father outside? Thank you very much.
I'm going to try and tell you what I've discovered about architecture ever since I started practice. What you can't see is, what I've typed out over there is making connections. And I think architecture is not so much about making buildings and creating objects. It's actually about creating relationships and manipulating and managing them. One of the most important relationships I have in my life is my partner, Vaibhav Dimri, who's not here right now, with whom I started Anagram Architects about 11 years back. That's a bad day in office. He and I were very interested in theater when we were in college, and we carry that on into the initial part of our practice. So hence, what you see at the bottom is a bit of a wordplay with our names. And if you take anagrams of architects, the word architects, you get site charts. That's what we do. We did a lot of theater, acts thrice, and it was tough. So it was like so strict ache. But relationships get formulated through friendships, through family. I think that's the very first touchstone for relationships. This is a house we've recently completed in Delhi, where we've cast 3 volumes and started a conversation between these 3 volumes to provide spaces for 2 brothers and their families to live together, like a joint family. Otherwise, they would have typically divided up this house into a ground floor and first floor, and from there on would have started a massive Saas Bahu-style epic war between the families. We thought it would be interesting if they could carry on conversations. This is a house, a multi-apartment stack that we built in Gurgaon. Gurgaon, famous for its neighborliness and friendship between people. So we thought that it would be nice if you could have conversations like you used to with your neighbors. So this is another building that we finished in Delhi a good 4 years back. This is the offices for South Asian Human Rights Documentation Center, where we felt that this facade that faced a pedestrian street needed to have a conversation with its neighbor, which was the street. And we created this almost fabric-like pattern out of brick, which was porous. You could talk through that. If you wanted to buy something off the street, you could just reach out and buy it. Because streets are important in India. We use streets to commute, obviously, but the thing is that streets in India should not be meant for commuting vehicles. They should be meant for commuting people. That's how we are. We are very street-based people. Because in our streets, when we move slowly, we also create the opportunity to create street commerce. The massive Indian informal sector gets sites on streets. And the informal sector is very, very innovative. They use technology very intuitively. Cell phones have had deep permeation in the informal sector. It's used to communicate through voice, through text. Very simple cell phone technology, and more, as access to more improved technology comes, it becomes an enabler to create content. These 3 notions came together in one of our projects that we're working on right now, which is to pedestrianize an underutilized railway corridor in Delhi called the Ring Rail. We call it the Ring Trail Project. That's the logo. We're working with the National Association of Street Vendors of India to develop an information cloud, which can actually push. So street hawking and street vending, informal sector, depends on peer-to-peer recommendation. So that's not something that Facebook invented. It's always been there in India. So we've just tried to use very simple 1G cell phone technology to exchange and create a cloud that would give the informal sector the necessary tools to compete with the formal sector economies, that is advertising, microfinance, ways and means to improve their lives. We as human beings consume, we can't help it, but eating, consuming food is something that's very central to all of us. It's a great equalizer. This is a pop-up food experiment that we tried out with our partners in Cell Design and the Grey Garden, which is a restaurant in Delhi, which we made this completely out of pallet boxes, boxes that came out of fruit vendors' stalls. And where there is consumption, there's waste. I'm going to run through this. We are currently working on a massive community sanitation project in Bhubaneswar and Cuttack, where we've realized it's not the design which is user-centered or whatever. It's actually what's up there in the top right-hand corner. We actually use 90% of what runs in our sewers is pure drinking water, and we need to consider whether we do need centralized sewage systems in our cities or whether they can be decentralized. Human beings also relate to the environment. An eco-resort that we're developing in Uttar Pradesh is actually an abandoned mango orchard that was created out of usurping land from a forest. We're trying to let the forest reclaim that land. That was the first attempt that we did on this. We are nestling our buildings within it, but there's this massive replantation, water harvesting system so that it can become a forest again. And I'm going to leave you with a few more anagrams of architects for some of the projects that I've shared with you. So that's CAT, which talks about the urban sanitation problem. There's Chic Taster, which is our idea of consumption, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
What I'm speaking about today is Ek Bhasha, Anek Bhasha. And for those of you who don't quite get what that means, it very literally translates into one language, many languages. So this entire week, the lead up to IDF, I think a lot of people were asking me, saying, so what is it you're going to talk about? And I think every time I said I'm talking about language, I got a strange look saying, but aren't you a designer? Why are you talking about language? Well, the truth is that, I'm a designer, I'm a typographer, but I'm a typographer in India, and these are our language statistics. And I think even while I stand here and talk, like this number is diminishing, that our language is disappearing. So even while I was making this slide, I first thought it would be how cool would it be to animate it and have the 398 become, lesser and lesser. But when I actually saw that happen, it was a bit scary. It felt like a ticking time bomb, a bit like when they start playing this music, So I immediately went back to, making it a static slide. But the truth is that it is a ticking time bomb. And I'm not talking about remote languages that 5 people in Assam speak in some village, but I'm talking about you and me, So I'm Gujarati, so I speak Gujarati. I, of course, speak Hindi and a smattering of Marathi to get by the Bombay cops. But I think only in English. And I'm very certain that, as we go ahead, maybe my kids won't even know that smattering. So that's a concern for me. This is a language map of India, and I feel that as a country, we are divided by language and not united. That when I go down south, the Tamilians, want to cheat me because I'm talking in Hindi, and so on and so forth. And I think that also bothers me. Coming next to the third language matter, which I felt was what happened in Bombay not so long ago, which is that Shiv Sena decided that we must all have Marathi signage. And overnight, there was all this stress of putting up new signboards in the city. But actually what happened was that Marathi transliteration just got relegated to one corner of the signboard, and that is what we essentially are living with. So, I'm not Shiv Sena, and I'm not doing this thing for the Marathi Manus or anything like that. But as a designer, I feel that is this a solution? Is this the best way that we can do this? Is it satisfying the people who are asking for this? And visually, does it help us as designers? We are all aesthetically sensitive people. So for me, this is visual pollution. I feel as designers, we have the power. We have the power to change. We have the power to do different things. And I feel design should be inclusive. I want to invite Marathi up to center stage to stand along with English and have its moment of glory and not be relegated to one corner. I feel design can actually make you curious about different languages. And I've shown this piece of work to a lot of audiences in London, across places, even in India, where this is Kannada, and it's a recipe for curd rice in Kannada. And I think every time I've shown this piece of work, there have been people saying, oh my God, what is this? Which language is this? And what is the recipe? The recipe must be interesting. I feel that design can actually revive, languages like Sanskrit. So according to me, I call Sanskrit a near extinct language because I don't think more than 3 people in this room would even know Sanskrit. And I feel that's sad because it did have, it gave rise to so much. I feel that design can connect. I feel that design can cross boundaries. I feel that design can, just express nuances that are so specific to a certain culture. I feel that design can equalize and it can celebrate. So this actually, Utsav means to celebrate in Gujarati. I feel that design can almost go out and do a little dance. And I think all that's kind of required is really right here. It's the rich repository that we already have. We just have to go out and use it, right? So I'm just saying that I'd like to end with one thought, and which is that this is my India, that it's not either or, it's and. That we have all of this and we can coexist. So thank you and shukriya.
Hi, I don't think so. I need to explain my work because it's like hyper realistic, whatever mannequin you can say. These are the mannequin which we developed. We started this company in 2008. We are like group of artists and designers together working. And so I will show you some process about how we do it. These are few works for Sadhu Vaswani Museum in Pune. So all this is mannequins and props. This all, everything is mannequin. This is Gandhi, which we made for Jalgaon Museum. I'll tell you about a little bit about the process. This is the clay. First we make the whole thing in clay, and then we convert the entire thing into wax and give all the detailed textures and everything required. And then we take a mold of fiberglass, and then we cast the silicone into it. And then we have a piece, silicone piece, and then we paint it. The hair grafting happens, and this is the final sculpture. And this sculpture is actually an animatronic sculpture. So this Gandhi is actually moving a charkha like this. So this is a model, again animatronic model for Disney. Actually, it has a remote control. It's a remote-able device which you can handle. So we work for movies also. So these are few props for movies and little prosthetics work. This is Gangs of Wasipur, which we did recently. And this stomach is a prosthetic stomach which is stuck to a actress. And this is a prop of hand. Again, a fetus. This is a Raj 3 ka main character, Bhoot. So, and this is the window display thing for which we did for Lemon Design. And this is an onion, again a hyper-realistic thing. So now what we are thinking of going into medical prosthetics, customized medical prosthetics and educational products. So we are developing right now that, and that's it.
All the things we've been seeing since the past 2 days, it really feels that I do just practice product design. I don't really do product design. I'm too young into the field. My presentation is really going to follow in a way, it has some metaphorical things which kind of lay a background to what I'm going to show in the front, and how I do really like to think about design. So when I speak of design, when I speak of my product, I really like to see it as a hero. Not just any hero, I mean practically like a Bollywood hero, because there's so much drama around it, okay? I like to see my product being desirable for the lead actress, who is practically on a metaphorical stage, our user. Why? Because he has to be desirable compared to the villain, who is almost competent. He has to stand in front of, he has to, I mean, the product, practically the hero has to be better than the villain. And there is a subsequent context of, other things which will sort of control the story. Normally, when I am dealing with the industry, the kind of people I deal with, these are small enterprises. These are not very big multinationals. These are not companies who have very high revenue. Normally, if I am to put it into specs, I would be dealing with companies whose annual turnover ranges between 1 crore to 50 crores. And these are the kind of people who have very high aspirational values, but will not still look at design as a tool for development, as a tool for change. Okay, high aspirational values is when we look at this poster particularly. I mean, for those in India, know as Krish as a very popular superhero movie which did good success. So these guys do approach me coming with an aspiration which is as good as this and say that, okay, Vivek, why don't we just simply do something like this, but the budgets are pretty low and we are tight onto this. And following some story and aping some design story, what we would ideally end up is with something which looks like this, which is not what is exactly fantastic looking. It does somewhat resemble what the client's aspiration is. The whole point is design stories cannot be copied. And this is where I go back to the theme where I say that, okay, design really matters. Design matters in a way that every product needs to have a very unique story. We cannot simply ape, we cannot simply copy somebody else's design story and make it ours. So I'm just going to put it through an example of what we did. It's a very basic product. It's a very simple product. Practically, if you look at the product, there was nothing majorly put into it. It's a sandwich toaster. Most of it on the other side of the world would know it as a camping toaster. We in India know it as a gas toaster. We make toast sandwich on it, putting it onto the gas. So the brief which we got was that, okay, this is a client's competitor's toaster, and we want some very small change, just do a little flower on the corner or something and make it look ours, So that is where we said that, okay, if you want to make it unique, if you want to make it yours, do not discard design as a tool for change. Let's look at a completely new design. Let's look at a completely new story and let it evolve by itself. So what we did was we tried to analyze this toaster in terms of what exactly were the flaws, because if we are copying the toaster, we are even copying the flaws of this toaster into the next one. So we looked at the process of what the main concern in this product was. It was about this toast sandwich. And we looked at the process of the toast sandwich, how it was supposed to be, how the bread was supposed to brown and how it was supposed to seal in the contents of the sandwich. And what we evolved was this, which did significantly address most of the issues which we did spot in terms of sealing the sandwich, in locking the contents, not spoiling the toast for any matter. This is how it opens up. So we did win a Red Dot Award for 2012 as honorable mention for this one. So just earlier today we heard that change may not be necessary, but I'd like to iterate that if at all we have to change, we can change by design. Thank you.
This is actually not my painting, it's my dad's painting. I come from a tradition of Rajput miniature artists. I'm the 39th generation. So I've grown up all my life seeing this kind of stuff. My dad, my mom, both are artists, sculptors, furniture designers. So I've kind of grown up seeing all this. And because I saw so much art at home, I was really more into technology. Okay, my brother's an engineer. He's from BITS Pilani. So I never really thought I'd take up anything to do with art because everyone would always compare me to my dad. However, he recommended I try NID, and that's what I did. This is where I grew up, actually. I'm from Darjeeling. I studied in St. Paul's there, and then I studied at NID, where my dad recommended I should go. And I went to NID, and I kind of was exposed to some of the most awesome work I had seen till then. And so many disciplines. So what I really did is I took 5 years, 6 years, I think. And I kind of understood design as a process. Once I finished NID, I kind of started this company called Lemon. Today we're a group of 25, some of the most awesome designers you'll find in the country working together on projects that we do. We work with brands now, we work with spaces, we work with interfaces, packaging, products. Okay, and a lot of our own passion projects, because we've always thought that, service projects are not always enough. I've always kind of been intrigued by design as a process and how it can make lives better. So I'm just going to show you some of the projects. This is one of the projects that we've recently concluded. It's actually a 5-year project for us. We started this in 2011, and it's for the government of India Gems and Jewelry Export Promotion Council. It's in fact it's the second largest expo in India. There's a trade of $1 billion roughly that happens in a matter of 5 days. What we really did is, I told you I'm from a background of miniature artists, so I've always been fascinated by the tradition and root and the culture of India and the ornate beauty that has surrounded us. So this was one of the first few panoramas that we'd done, which would become a part of the spatial installations at the IIJS. It started off with 500 exhibitors, and now it is roughly 800 exhibitors. Okay, so this is really a part of a 5-year program. In fact, the council has been really good to us. They've kind of allowed us to really push it out there. And in fact, we've actually given them a very ambitious plan for the design that happens over 5 years. So we evolved this design because quickly we realized that there's a lot of wastage if you just limit the design to 1 year. So this is what we did this year. We've kind of reinterpreted the same traditional miniature art into a very kind of contemporary, modern look, and more so that it can be translated into space. So this is some of the graphic work that we did. We developed these motifs. These form various different parts of the show. The signage, the various different collateral, the spaces which are the connecting aisle. This is over 300,000 square feet of space, and we get literally 144 hours to build it. Okay, we get 7 months to design it, though the client is most of the time very, very kind of, a lot of it is a lot of function. So we have to take our own liberties, and what we did is we've added these installations. So this is some of our work. So I'm actually going to switch this directly to one of my projects that we've kind of done as Lemon. This is a solar light that we've designed for Ladakh, for India actually, for the rest of the world, for the whole world that doesn't have light. Because design has a responsibility, and what we really feel is that technology, we're so advanced in technology, but we don't really think of the poor. So we developed this technology that is the most efficient technology in the world in terms of LED lights. And it is for this kind of a person, a rural Indian who doesn't have access to electricity. We envisioned these scenarios where we could build a light. And this is a light that actually it's a single product that you can kind of use as a flashlight. And you can take it off, put it back together as a reading light. You can, kind of put it anywhere on a wall. And the idea was to provide light in various different ways that one needs in the house. So yeah, this is what it does. And okay, thank you.
I'm going to take you through my final graduation project. I mean, it's an offshoot of my final graduation project at Srishti. It's called Thunk in India. Basically, we work on innovations for a green and ethical existence. After doing lots of projects in college where we were making phones thinner, sleeker, more functional, I wanted to see how creativity could actually be used as a tool to make a difference to the place we live in and the community around us. So, I mean, I took the topic of waste because waste is a huge problem, and see how creativity could actually address this problem. Our general perception of cleanliness is when our space is cleaned and all the waste thrown away, then we feel it's clean, but it actually goes somewhere else and litters some other space. So what actually happens to this waste? Most of us throw our waste out in black polythene covers, and what actually happens is the recyclable, non-recyclable waste, everything starts mixing together to actually starting to create new toxic chemicals. So even the recyclable waste is no longer recyclable after a few days. And finally, it reaches the landfill, and 99% of these polythene covers don't have a chance of getting opened. So most of these waste, like for example, this PET bottle, they have a life of more than 1,000 years, but for our consumption and for our convenience, it's just 3 to 4 weeks, it goes into the landfills. So the initial idea was to see why not add value and reuse these waste materials and add life to these materials instead of recycling them or downcycling them. So upcycling, that's a process. It's a cradle-to-cradle approach of design where waste from one end is used as food for another. And basically, you add value to a waste material without actually changing its chemical property. These are some of the examples of the work I've done at college. This was a bag created from the Tetra Pak Good Life milk packets. So just different methods of material innovation, processing them together. And the main challenge was to see how this idea could actually be taken forward into reality, because as cool as an idea might be, like, unless it's actually taken forward, no difference has been made. In other words, unless I convert tons of waste into products and make sure it doesn't reach the landfill and empower a lot of communities, I've actually not made any difference. So it almost meant me moving from a designer to an entrepreneur. So basically, Thunk is an experiment to see how creativity could be used as a tool to create social and environmental impact. And therefore, I realized you need a very strong and self-sustainable, viable business model, which is, of course, creative, green, and ethical. So at Thunk, we work on upcycling, that's one. Secondly, we work with communities, and it's not just about providing them money, providing the slum workers money, but it's also more holistic, teaching them life skills. So even if they stop working with us, they can actually go and earn money somewhere else. So we teach them tailoring, weaving, and different aspects. And a third thing is our R&D studio, which we just started off in Coimbatore. And yeah, so we basically believe in co-creation, where we work with all the stakeholders, and it's not a big designer telling the people what to do, a strong, evolving design process. And we take up interesting projects, like this was what we did in Pondicherry. It was a backdrop for a fashion show, which spoke about conscious consumerism versus conspicuous consumerism. So this whole backdrop is created from the waste that these fashion designers actually generated while making the collection. See, when you speak about a product being made from waste, people would think it's dirty, stinky, unhygienic, and it's sick. So our aim was to create a product that could go global, an Indian product that people really want to buy. And people don't buy out of any kind of sympathy that, oh, poor thing, slum women have made it, or it's made out of waste material. So this is some of the products that we created initially. So we figured a method of processing polythene covers, the normal polythene covers, and we wove them together after shredding them to create this kind of a fabric. And this fabric is then cut and stitched into different kinds of products. This is made out of the black polythene cover you actually line your dustbins with. This is out of the Coke bottle caps. And then a final connection out of rubber tube, the inner lining of the tires. These are different bags. And a final thing was to actually see, okay, wasted materials. There are a lot of wasted resources like solar energy and stuff actually getting wasted. So this was a big innovation for us, where we combined a bag made out of rubber tube with a solar panel and a battery. So basically, when you are under the sunlight, the solar panel charges the battery, and you can actually connect your mobile phone or your laptop to actually get charged. So these are some images. I'm basically going to play you a small video. It's a fun ad we made. But before that, I'd just like to say one thing. Very few creative people in India, designers in India. And I feel as designers, we do have a responsibility to, we can choose to either do what we really want to do or what needs to be done. And in India, we can choose either to do like what we want to do or what needs to be done. And in India, there's so many problems and very few designers. And I feel lots of problems that even technology can't solve, design can solve. So I feel we all should take up design that really, really matters. And this is just a fun video.
I'm Sandeep. I'm an industrial designer by training and a wanderer by nature. I still wander around. On one of my wanderings, I stumbled upon craft way back in 2003, working on two wonderful projects. That what exposed me to craft, which is, I think, the underlying thing for design. And one of the projects was with bamboo. And to do this, I went on to Tripura, a small little state in the northeast, where I get to see bamboo in a very different form, not scaffoldings, not ladders, but where we have plantations, where people grow bamboo because it's an everyday material. Houses, and the versatility of this material is so intense that it can be used in different ways, like simple baskets, stools, fences, dams, blocking water, packing pigs, rafts, carrying water. So this kind of changed my perception of the material, which is so humble, very natural, grows fast. So I was there to train a group of artisans to understand design in terms of how they can translate a orthographic drawing into a product. So during those 5 weeks I was there, I designed a couple of products very quickly, and during the process, I got trained and to get to know the material better. And so what I designed was very simple, basic chairs, which I was not excited about. But just before leaving, I thought I should make one of these chairs, which stools that I had made before, and I should replicate this in bamboo. So I just did that. And what I got out of it was this little triangular piece, which I call Trust Me. What is so exciting about it is, I'll just show you. This is a little thing. This weighs as much as this water bottle, and it can take almost 200 kgs. So, and I wanted to see how I can use it in other different applications, because this is just a frame and I didn't know what to do with it. So in next 3-4 months, I came back from Tripura, I tinkered around, I made different shapes, different products, and all kinds of things. Then I said I should make it a little larger, then went on working with these two artisans who helped me do the prototypes. Then I just finished with this in the next 2 months, 3-4 months, yeah. Then I moved on, and I got another project in 2006, where I had to develop a range of bamboo products in the Northeast, working with artisans there for a contemporary need. And I thought I should take this concept further down. So I explored, made some more designs, bookshelves, and the project just ended there, and it got shelved. Then I thought, what's the point working on these projects which never see the daylight? So I kind of refined them on my own. I took it as my own personal initiative to develop it and get it into the market. And the turning point was in 2009 when it won the Red Dot Design Award, Best of the Best, and that's when it got the recognition. And I thought that's the point that I should start my own company to produce these products. And this was my studio when I started. And I started with a group of 6 artisans. And I thought I'll start making and selling them immediately, but it just doesn't happen. I need to train artisans to achieve a certain quality, understand new methods of production using hand skills, but also using a bit of technology and design into it. How to create systems where they're consistently produced, so they're not one-off products, but can be manufactured in batches so that there is some kind of consistency, which is very rare in crafts. And this whole process goes through a lot of testing. We make our products, we use it in our studio. And these are a group of my artisans I work with. So these are some products that we just shipped to Beijing for a boutique hotel. Things going back to China. And this is the philosophy that we work with. What I feel is craft is and should remain the base of every design project, and craft definitely got a place close to the most innovative technologies and materials. So, and with this, thank you.